We're out here in the field today giving you an idea of why damage assessment is so important. I will say that this is, I believe, one of our failure points in last year's storm. Some of the damage assessment didn't get done until 2 or 3 weeks later. And of course, there's a big impact. When you see a home like this behind us that has this type of damage, it means so much more in the pictures and at this stage versus doing it 2 or 3 weeks later, because you don't get the impact of the water and where it's at. So this is one of the things that we're doing. We've got 29 crews out right now doing damage assessment. We're about, as of this briefing, we're probably about 80%. We got over 1,200 homes that have seen some type of damage. We'll have those final numbers for you this afternoon and release our preliminary cost value assessments to that. A couple of things we need to talk about today. Again, as I said, the damage assessment portion of this is so important. That's why it's taken us 3 days. We're being slow, we're being deliberate, because again, this was a failure point for us last year. And we want to make sure that the residents of this community get every available grant opportunity and tax or federal opportunity that they can get. It's so very important. That brings us to damage, flood damage. We're asking people at this media press release is that we have people take their storm damage out to the road's edge. We need to start getting that storm damage, and we're asking you to separate it into white goods, furniture, yard debris, and so on. There is, again, a press release that's been out there so you can articulate that to your viewers. But we need to get that out to the road starting today. Tomorrow morning we will have debris assessment crews with Pasco County government going out doing its initial assessment on debris, so that they can determine, can we handle it with our in-house waste removal services, or do we need to contract that out and bring in a contract company that does this for a living? So we're going to be making that assessment tomorrow. So again, we ask people to take their furniture that's been damaged, their baseboards, whatever it might be that they're trying to start pulling out of their homes, get it to the road's edge so that we could do some type of drive-by assessment to see how many people have damaged furniture, vegetation, white goods, and so on. So that, with that being said, that brings us up to where we're at right now. I still do have the evacuation orders in place as they stand right now. We may bring one of those evacuation orders down from a mandatory to a recommended evacuation order, that being at on the Anclo River. We are seeing that river go down, and we're in moderate flood stage now. When we get through the minor section into the action stage, I'll most likely bring that mandatory evacuation order down and go to recommended. We will probably still be in recommended or mandatory evacuation orders for probably the rest of this week, because as you see behind me with Bass Lake and Lake Worrell, this is the bottom of this area's watershed. All the rain that we received is still coming to this area, and it's still going up. This has gone up about 2 inches overnight, so we continue to see it rise. And until we get that taken care of, and we know we're starting to go back down, we're going to leave those mandatory evacuation orders and recommended evacuation orders in place. So with that being said, I'll start with any questions that anybody might have.
So you said that last year it was a failure point, and that you didn't document it well enough. How did that impact things?
So the initial, what we refer to as the initial damage assessment that goes up to the state, goes up to FEMA, we have to get that to them at when the disaster is happening. We cannot wait 2-3 weeks after the fact. And in one case, we had experienced some damage, and I started 6 months ago, and I asked the question, hey, can we rescind and do an update to our submission, because I thought we may have been able to reach the $1.7 million threshold. And I was told, well, had we done the correct damage assessment in the beginning and done the thorough damage assessment, that we could have, but because we didn't do that, then no, we couldn't. So again, why I'm putting so much emphasis on doing this and doing it the correct way.
So to be clear, you have to show that you have at least $1.7 million worth of damage?
That's correct.
In order for residents to get grants?
Again, and this is very important for our viewers to know, we have to meet a threshold of 1.69 million. It's almost 1.7 million here in Pasco County. The state of Florida has to meet over 26 million in statewide damages and statewide individual homeowner claims. So it's not an and or, it's an and statement. Pasco and the state has to meet that their individual thresholds. With that being said, what opens up for opportunity? Well, yes, FEMA will come in, but I want to set the expectations right now, folks. FEMA's average payout for a resident in the state of Florida is $6,000. It is not millions, it is not hundreds of thousands. The maximum claim that they will ever get from FEMA, if they meet all of those, all the benchmarks and check boxes, is about $33,000 to $36,000. So this is not a, don't make an insurance claim or you have no insurance. The most that anybody will receive from FEMA is $33,000 to $36,000. The average is $6,000.
Even if you have floodwater inside of your house?
Even if.
So why are people insured for $100,000 or $250,000 on a home?
So again, do not mix up FEMA's federal assistance program with the National Flood Insurance Program. Anybody that has flood insurance will be made whole. Okay, so again, that's an insurance program versus a government subsidy handout type situation. So be very clear on the differences between those two things. So what we're going after is the FEMA side of the house to get some people some relief. But I referred to grants, and I'm glad that you brought that up. Grants will open up after this cycle. If we get a federal declaration, we're going to have what's referred to as a hazard mitigation grant program grant open up to us in about 1 year. It'll be 20% of, estimated 20% of the value of the entire storm damage for the state of Florida. So if that ends up being $1 billion, it's 20% of that, it's $200 million. Again, I'm not saying that Florida's got $1 billion in damage. I do that because it's easy math for me to come up with the 20%. So again, whatever that number is, we'll get 20% opened up to the state for mitigation projects, to acquire homes, to create more storage, to do infrastructure projects. And as you all know, Pasco County has over $300 million in capital improvement projects just for stormwater related issues. That is why it is so important for us to go after the proper damage assessment, bring in the FEMA team. They will come in later this week or early next week. FEMA, the state of Florida, and one of our individuals will come back to every one of these homes, and we will start talking to homeowners in what is referred to as a joint damage assessment team. All right, so those are issues that we need that are going to happen over this next week.
Can we ask you about the 9 homes that were totally destroyed? Were they all in one area, or was that from a variety of different issues, or what contributed to the total destruction classification? As
I recall, the destroyed homes, we did have a couple of clusters of 1s or 2s and 3s, and in about, I believe it's 4 different areas of town. Again, typically, what we're looking at flood damage is anything that's over the doorknob is considered to be destroyed. So I have not personally visited those homes yet, and again, we're going to provide you a portal that's forward facing so you can actually get those addresses and look at those for yourself.
When it comes to infrastructure, what could Pasco County do to help alleviate this in the future and maybe prevent future damage for other storms?
So again, that goes back to the $300 in capital improvement projects that are already been identified. We have to spend the taxpayer dollars wisely, and we do not want to go to our taxpayers and just flat out say we need to assess you X dollars so we can make up that $300 million and get it done quickly. We have to be cognizant. On average, I believe this last year we spent $2 or $3 million on capital improvement, and we can ground truth that through Doug Tobin's office. But in the grand scheme of things, it was a small percentage of the $300 million that needs to be done. We're just going to have to chip away at that every year. And if we get the federal grant opportunities to go after some money, like we're looking at doing out of this event, we're going to do that. We're going to do everything we possibly can for our residents. As far as emergency management goes, we brought in an award-winning mitigation planner that's won national and state level awards to help us get all the grant money we possibly can.
And you talk about, is it